All right, good afternoon, everyone. We're going to be getting into Chapter 16, which is all about the sale of personal property. Sorry, I couldn't make it to class today. So when it comes to Chapter 16, the learning objectives are to define goods, define a sale of goods, and distinguish it from a contract to sell, and distinguish between existing and future goods. So when it comes to Chapter 16, again, it's all about the sale of goods. So contracts for the sale of goods, which is movable property, are the largest class of commercial transactions within our economy. A sales contract that does not meet the UCC, which is the Uniform Commercial Code requirements, is not enforceable. So when it comes to property that is subject to sale, movable property is the only property that is subject to sale. So real and intangible personal property are not covered by the UCC Article 2. So those, though, can only be contracted to sell, the real and intangible property. So that's kind of the difference between them. So one is just a sale, whereas one is a contract to sell. So generally you have a real estate agent that would come and sell that for you. So obviously whatever land you own, you can't move, and that's where that real estate and intangible property would be contracted. So when it comes to a sale versus a contract to sell, when it comes to a sale, the transfer of the title is immediate. So think about when you go to the store and you buy yourself a sandwich. That transaction happens immediately. You put your card in, or you give you cash, you get the sandwich, and you get a receipt, so that shows you what happened, and that's like your contract. But when it comes to a contract to sell, the transfer of the title will usually occur at a later time. So again, if you're buying like a house, that usually takes a few months to be able to get everything in order and get that sale finalized and have all the contracts signed, and there's a lot more to it than just like a regular sale. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay. When it comes to the sales of goods and contracts for services, so whether it is a sale or a service is determined by the predominant factor. You can also look at price. So price is a consideration within a sales contract, which is usually payable in either like money, goods, or services. And if the price can be computed from the terms of the contract, then the contract is valid. So basically you need to have in writing exactly what should the price be, and that you can go through with that contract. Okay, so when it comes to existing goods, in order to be subject to Article 2 within the UCC, the goods must exist. So existing goods are goods that are in being, that are already there. So it's not on the manufacturing site, not currently being produced, but it's something that is already physically able to be sent to you or bought and like just taken away. So that's what an existing good is. Identified goods are goods picked to be delivered to the buyer. So identified goods are the specific ones that are going to that buyer. There are something called future goods. So those are goods that do not currently exist. So shipment or delivery must occur before the buyer acquires the title to these goods. So I like to think of that as when you're buying like something pre-ordering. So I always think like electronics, the newest, AirPods, before they actually existed, you could pre-order them. So that's a future good. So you're not actually getting the like title of that good until it's actually shipped to you and delivered to you. All right. So there's also something called a bill of sale, which is like a receipt, but it could be a little bit different. So basically it's just written evidence of the title to the tangible personal property. So there are two purposes for this. The first is that if the buyer wishes to resell the goods and the prospective buyer demands proof of ownership, the bill of sale can be produced. So not all the time does this happen, but this could be like if you're reselling a car and you need the title of the car, like the bill of sale, so that you can show that you are indeed the owner at the moment, and then you're getting that ownership transferred. Or I know there's actually a lot of antique pieces out there that you have to show the proof of ownership and have a bill of sale to see that transaction if they're really expensive antiques. So that's another example. And then the other purpose is that if any questions arise as to whether the buyer came into that possession of the goods legally, the bill of sale is proof. So that's kind of where the antique piece comes into play that I was talking about, because there are a lot of very expensive antiques out there, and so you want to make sure that there is that record of who's owned it and when, to make sure that it's going down the line in proper channels and is legally bought and purchased. So illegal sales then are prohibited by law. So if both parties are guilty, the court will not aid either party. But if one party is innocent, the court will compel a restoration of goods or money transferred. So that could be where, in this scenario with the bill of sale, if the person prior came into it illegally and then sold it to you and you thought that you were all good and you bought it and everything went legal in that transaction, they will restore your money for you. So that's kind of where that goes into play. If the illegal sale has not yet been completed, then the transaction is a contract to sell and it will not be enforced. So basically, if the court hears about it before it's actually become a transaction, then you just won't actually get it and it'll be dissolved. So if the sale is divisible by legal and illegal parts, the court will enforce the legal part. So if part of it is legal and part of it's not, they will still enforce the legal aspect, but obviously not the illegal aspect. All right, so then there's also international sales contracts. When it comes to international sales contracts, the parties may specify in their contract which law governs. So if you are contracting internationally, usually you discuss which one is kind of the lead country. The U.S. ratified the United Nations Convention on Contracts for the International Sale of Goods. So, yeah, we're done with notes. Hopefully that wasn't too bad for you.